Welcome back to the second episode of the Planting Change podcast, recording at Las Bandurrias Food Forest and Homestead in the beautiful hills of Minas, Uruguay.
I'm Lorena.
And I'm Randy. Since 2021, we've planted thousands of trees to create our centropic food forest, bridging ancient wisdom and modern science to rebuild ecosystems and communities. Regenerative agriculture isn't just for farms, it's for backyard gardens, public spaces, and even balconies. Want to be part of the new agricultural revolution? Let's dig in. All right, so in the last episode, we basically talked just a little bit about what is a food forest and different kinds of regenerative agriculture, and we'll get more into that in future episodes for sure. But one thing we wanted to get out of the way is introducing ourselves and talking a little bit about our backgrounds and how we ended up here in Uruguay. So, well, I suppose I'll start. I got here first. I'm Randy. I came from the United States in 2017. I had left looking for a different way of life, and Uruguay was on a short list of countries I wanted to visit and check out. And after a couple of months of a long backpacking adventure, I came to Uruguay and found a project building a super adobe dome home, so a kind of like natural building technique. It was actually developed in California by an Iranian architect named Nadir Khalili. And it's a really fascinating style of architecture. I've never done any kind of construction before, and it just seemed like a really, really neat project. So there's a webpage called Workaway that I was using to try and find volunteer projects, and stumbled upon this one and came here to Minas. And while I was there for a few months helping this guy Luis build his domes, another, well, now neighbor, Pablo, came by to offer some tips and stuff because he's got a dome house also. And one day he invited me to his place for a barbecue and mentioned to me that the field next to his was for sale. And so I kind of felt just like the field found me. I didn't find it. And so after just a few months of being here without looking at any other properties whatsoever, I decided this was a place I wanted to put down roots. And it's been a long journey, a long, big learning curve. I studied some Spanish when I was in school. I mean, being from Los Angeles helped a lot, but Uruguayan Spanish is definitely different in some respects from the Spanish that I was taught and that I'm used to. But on top of that, construction and just learning all about food forests, it's not something that was in my wheelhouse when I came here. I had some experience with gardening, but I don't know, fairly limited. But still, as a kid, as a teenager, and as an adult, I put my hands in the ground and very much enjoyed harvesting my own food. But I really didn't know too much about food forestry. It seemed like a really interesting concept to me, and I tried planting a bunch of different trees, but without any kind of organization or systematization. Like the first rule of permaculture is to like conserve energy, including your own. And I tried to honor that, but I stretched myself too thin, and some of the trees didn't make it. But then in 2019, I decided I was going to put something up on the same webpage, Workaway, trying to find volunteers of my own. And who might appear? Bum, bum, bum.
Las hermanas brasileiras. Yeah, that was when we found, like Randy, when Uruguay found us. Before we started looking for somewhere to get away from the city, just like Randy, really, I left New York, where I was pretty much raised. I was born in Brazil, but raised in New York. And I got to Brazil with that idea of trying to leave the big city, trying to kind of connect somehow with a simpler way of life and more meaningful. And slowly, after meeting Renata, and we left the city and started looking for a place to build our story and lay down our roots as well. And so when we opened Workaway, we chose 4 places in Uruguay, and here in Randy's place was the second place we stayed. And after a week, we left with an invitation from Randy saying, look, the doors are open if you guys want to come. We can do something together. And 1 year, a road trip later, living in the car, we left Brazil and started a new story here. And now what is called Las Bandurrias, but before...
It had no name.
It had no name.
It was prehistory.
Yeah.
Well, and so you and Renata you were already preparing to leave, and then they closed the borders because of COVID.
Exactly. And so we were in the border between Brazil and Uruguay. And after 1 year driving from Minas Gerais to Uruguay, the border was closed. And finally, after a month waiting, it opened. And literally the next day, we hopped in the car and crossed the border, and then finally arrived with this big field, open field, completely different than what we knew in our hometown, which is very closed with trees and mountains. And so it was definitely like going to a new world for us, coming to Uruguay. And then started the whole learning experience. We did have experience living in like a rural setting and kind of fending for ourselves as being kind of far away from the city. But there's still so much to learn from a new country, not only the language and the customs and the food and everything that is completely different from our everyday life, but a whole new fauna, different trees and animals and weather and climate. I mean, there is a frost here. It can get like -5 degrees. That's something we do not see.
Celsius.
Yeah, Celsius. We did not see that in Minas Gerais, where we're from, in Brazil. So it's been a learning experience, but ultimately just having that goal where all of us just know that syntropic food forest is the way to go and the way to look at agriculture and the way to take care of a field. So ultimately, it's just been learning every day and trying to share with everybody as much as we can what we learn here.
I would say the weather here is very similar for me as the weather in Los Angeles. The climate range, I mean, Los Angeles is at 33 degrees north of the equator, and we're here at about 33 degrees south. That hasn't been too much of a change for me, but the cold is very different. I lived in New Hampshire also, where it gets very cold, like 25 below 0 Celsius, but the cold here, it gets inside of you. It gets in your bones. It's not a thing where it's like, oh, yeah, I don't have anything covering my hands or face, so my hands and face are cold. It's just, you feel it in your bones.
It's so humid, right? Like
it's weird.
It's in the air and it goes through your pores.
It's weird. But yeah, we're just in subtropical temperate climate, so we do get frosts, and that definitely does cause some, I don't want to say complications, it is what it is, but it prevents us from planting all the fruits and things that we want for the time being. But the nice thing about food forestry is that as you continue to plant more trees and create this microclimate, you have a lot more protection from frosts and from weather extremes in general and high winds and things like that. So there are people here in Uruguay that are harvesting bananas and mangoes and tropical fruits, even farther south than us. But yeah, it has a lot to do with managing what you're doing and making sure you have other plants there that can protect these things that are sensitive to weather extremes.
Which was the shock when we got here, like that day we first got here, and we looked up into the horizon. It was just fields and fields and like not a little forest inside or a big tree that you can say like, wow, there's a eucalyptus here and there, but like it felt like an open page for me, like wow, there's so many things that we can do here. The possibilities are endless. And yeah, I mean, we already see the change when we first got here and we started planting right away. Like the first week we got here, completely different. The sun's coming in straight down intensely, not one bit of shade around the things we planted or wind that's really strong. And so something that just in the last 4 years we could see the difference. Imagine in 10, 20, it's been a trip seeing the change already in the small spaces that we've been working on.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll do a full episode about Uruguay in general and the interesting things that are going on here. I mean, there's a lot of great agroecology movements, but there's also a lot of secret contracts with government and big mega corporations and all that kind of stuff. So there's challenges too. Thankfully, we're pretty far removed from all of that. I mean, we're part of a local group here, national network of native and heirloom seeds, something like that is how I guess I'd translate it. And so, we do a lot of stuff with the agroecology groups here and trying to do a bit more and more. But Uruguay, just to paint a little picture for those of you who may not know anything about it, it's a pretty small country right in between, kind of sandwiched between two huge countries, between Argentina and Brazil. And there's about 3.5 million people, and 1.5 million of those people are in the capital in Montevideo at the southern tip. And so we're kind of not really in the middle, but close. We're, I don't know, a little over an hour from any coastline, but there's lovely beaches here. We're a little far from them, but we're definitely out in the countryside. And the view you were talking about, Lorena, I mean, we have the nice part is you can see very far, but there's it's a lot of artificial grassland, I want to say. I mean, it's there's a lot of native forest here, but it's constantly under threat. It's been chopped down. It continues to be under threat. And thankfully, there's people doing everything they can to try and stop that and try and not just stop it, but reverse it. There's just been some mega plantations of eucalyptus trees, lots of land clearing for cattle. So the 3.5 million people, I think there's like 9 million cattle, or 12, I don't
12
know.
million
it's 12
now.
and 9 million sheep or something like that. I don't remember.
For every one person, there are 4 cows.
Yeah, so it's definitely a big meat country. And because of that, it's a lot of grass and lots of, like, not a lot of trees. A lot of the trees have been plowed down for all sorts of stuff. So this particular land here at Las Bandurrias, the neighbors who previously owned this land said that it was like 150 years of sugar beet production, and I thought they were exaggerating, but maybe not. And then after that, it's just had animals on it. So it's left us with compacted soil, degraded in lots of parts. The nice thing is we're at a low point, sort of. I mean, there's not really big mountains here, but we are in sort of a hilly area, and we're at a low point. So when it does rain, it does wash down water and organic material from another field, at least on one side. On the other side, it's all us, and that's more where there's been compaction, and that's an area that we're starting to tackle next. We've been planting lots and lots around our houses and sort of expanding outward, going back to that first principle of permaculture. We just had a course here last weekend with a friend of ours, Diego Sábado from Jardim das Acácias, just over the border in Brazil. It's the second time he's come here for a course. That was our focus, basically designing food forests, but also thinking about how to integrate livestock in a holistic manner and in a regenerative manner.
Which makes a lot of sense. I mean, if Uruguay is a meat country and you want to practice agroecology or any type of alternative agriculture, you need to somehow connect to the culture of the people around you, because it's already hard enough trying to convince, although that's something I don't like doing, convincing people that the syntropic way is the right way. But if there's a cow involved, I think the chance that a Uruguayan would listen and would pay attention and maybe think, wow, I can potentially have that in my farm, definitely increases. So for us, it's always been like, how can we involve all these animals in a regenerative way, which we know so many people have been doing this for decades already. There's so many great examples all over the world, people doing this. But shockingly enough, it's not so common here in Uruguay to see plantation agriculture together with animals. It's not something that is so common to see as I would have imagined, because it's such a meat country. But no, we actually, in our area right now, in our department, in our state, we are kind of pioneers in even thinking or starting to discuss this.
Yeah, and food forestry is really, I mean, one of the names it gets is syntropic agriculture, which is a little, I don't want to say controversial, but there's people who don't like to use the term, basically because it's sort of, I don't want to say it ignores or whitewashes, but it sort of looks over the fact that much of it is based on indigenous technology and observations. And I applaud the gentleman who observed all of this and put it together and called it syntropic agriculture. I think he gives credit to the indigenous cultures, but I don't know, there's just the term sort of makes it seem very modern and futuristic when it's actually based on stuff that's very, very old. And so a lot of it is coming out of Brazil, and it's strange, yes, to be so close to Brazil and not have it be translated here yet. But I think that is the key, is working more towards how to work with animals, specifically cows, but any kind of animals. I work with another neighbor and have some cows. Here we have some sheep and a couple pigs and some chickens, dogs, cats, bees, but all of them can, and the horse, I forgot about the horse, sorry. But all of them can be, I don't want to say used, but used in different ways to help you advance what you want to do and maintain a more natural balance and provide lots of things beyond just meat that can be used all around to keep you from buying chemical fertilizers and all sorts of other crap that you don't want or need, really. So anyway, what is our big vision here besides planting like thousands and thousands of trees? We're building a community center also with mud and straw. We started about a little over a year ago, we started opening our doors to do volunteer days and invite people who wanted to come. It's, again, not something we invented. It's called a minga here. It's like, again, based on a sort of ancient tradition, an indigenous tradition, to invite people to come help out with like a big task. And make a big meal and make like a fun event out of it. And it's incredible how much you can get done. We generally have a group of like, I don't know, what, 12 to 22 people, something like
Couple
that.
kids.
Kids are some of the most enthusiastic to play in the mud and to get their hands dirty. And it's been a really, really great experience. But we're building that to try and have great space for future events, future workshops, and to keep sharing everything we're learning here, failures, breakthroughs, like good stuff, tough stuff, all of it, and just to invite others to come share what they're doing as well. Are there any lessons you say you've learned, Lorena?
In the past 4 years that we've been here, you mean? Or?
Yeah.
Wow.
Limited to that.
I guess from what I've seen is when you decide to leave the city, that's a special kind of person, not the person that was born and raised and still lives in the countryside. But you come from an urban setting and you decide to go live in a country, and buy a piece of land and start from scratch and build your own house. That dream that a lot of my friends have and are already going through or went through. It's definitely important to kind of go step by step. You always want to do so many things. There's so many dreams and so many projects that you want to do, and the internet does not help because there's so many cool people doing cool things out there. And you're like, oh my God, I can do this. But take it one thing at a time and do it and finish it and then do something else. That's the biggest lesson I've learned, because you're always going to have something to do. And it's much better to look at something that is done or look at many things that you still have to do. It stresses me out a lot of the times. When I was building the house, imagine you're living inside a building space, every corner you look like, oh my God, I got to do this, I got to do that. I caught myself going for a walk to feel a little bit relaxed, but I think that's just it. Take it easy and do one step at a time. I think that's the biggest lesson I learned so far from this experience.
Yeah, I would agree. It's super important. I'm forever grateful to, I don't know, did you ever watch any of Anthony Bourdain's show? Was that like during your time?
I don't think so. No.
Well, Anthony Bourdain, for anyone who doesn't know, was a chef and an author and a TV personality. He traveled and did lots of great programs, often showing places of the world that other shows wouldn't go to or didn't go to, and was there to observe and not necessarily push tourism or anything. He just wanted to connect with the people and show the real people who live in this space and the challenges they face and what they do with their family. Just try and paint a picture of the actual place. Places often you only hear about as, like maybe war-torn deserts and things like that. But no, there's people there with lives and dreams and children and food and culture and history and maybe a future, like if we let them. And so anyway, he did 2 episodes about Uruguay, and one was put out before I came here, and it was one of the things I watched about Uruguay before I came here. And it really just painted a great picture. But they were interviewing a woman from Canada who had married an Uruguayan. And I remember distinctly that she said the hardest thing for her was learning how to slow down. And that just resonated so hard with me. And I kept it with me. And I still keep it with me when I need to. Like, I think back to that and to her and just that sentiment, and remember it's okay to slow down, because in Los Angeles it's definitely a faster rhythm. I say in the best way. I really feel like I took a little step back in time when I moved here, and I mean that as a positive thing, not as a criticism. It really, I don't know, it feels more tranquilo. But I don't know, it just feels a little bit behind, but in a great way, in a wonderful way.
I feel it's like when you're in the city, the things we worry about aren't so much things that has a weight. Like, I have to worry about if I pay this bill or that, or, if I have to go to work. I feel like when we're out here and we have there's an animal over there, and if we don't get up and do this and go get the food or give them water, that animal's going to be hungry and thirsty because you didn't get up and do your thing. It feels like,
yeah,
you have this responsibility of, or watering a plant that's going to turn into a tree, and all these, and then you have 10 plants, and then you have 100 plants, and it feels like paying a bill is so useless sometimes, or buying the newest phone or whatever. It just made all that rush to going nowhere. And I feel like all the things we do when we're out here kind of connecting, reconnecting, it feels more meaningful.
Yeah, meaningful and rewarding. I feel so happy when we come back into spring and things are blooming again. Things come back from the year before. It's just when a tree gives its first fruit and getting to try the fruit, or when another tree gives its first seeds and we plant new trees from those seeds. Like, I don't know. For me, it's a really, really rewarding experience. And I really didn't know how easy it was with lots of species of trees to just cut off a branch and put it in the ground and it'll grow another tree. I think if I'd known that when I was a kid, I may have I don't want to say my life would have been different. I probably just would have started planting trees a lot earlier. They say the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is now. I've heard that a lot, and it's something I really, really, really enjoy. Well, I think in one of the volunteer days, like someone asked you like who was like the technical, or if you had like a technical background, or I don't know, like.
Yeah, who's the technician behind the project, the academic who's leading us through this journey?
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't have any background in this. I mean, in my prior life, I did lots of things with food. I worked in some kitchens. I wrote a couple cookbooks. And like I said, I have some garden experience, but definitely nothing on this scale. It's been a huge learning curve in the best way. What did you do in your previous life?
Well, nothing to do with agriculture. I studied philosophy in college, but it was I think thinking about leaving the city and thinking about survival and being able to grow my own food. I think that's what really pulled me to think about food forests in general, Being able to plant my own food will be the first thing to give me, a little bit of freedom to not be in the city.
Renata also doesn't have a background in...
No, she studied physical education, and she got like the teaching license to be a gym teacher, and that's what she was doing in Brazil. She was a swimming teacher in like fancy club. Every physical educator's dream job she had in the city, like the best club, the best salary.
Nice.
And then she met me, and we were like, let's get out of the city, and she just said, okay, and left all of that. And at that time, I was teaching English to Brazilians in Belo Horizonte, going house to house in my little car, and sold all that, sold the apartment, the stuff we had in the apartment, and went to go live in a tent. That was pretty much my experience there when we went to go live in a tent. And okay, now, I'm going to poop in the woods, and what do I do with the poop afterwards? What about the paper? Can I wipe my butt with this leaf, with that leaf? It started out like that, kind of basic survival. But it slowly, led to building our own space, our own house, collecting wood to build that house, and what materials do we use? How do we mix them? Maybe we need a window here. How do we put a window? Things like that. Just kind of like when you press reset on a game, in the Sims, and your house is empty and you don't have anything. You have to cook, and how do I cook? I don't know. Let's make a little fire here and see how. Making a fire is also an art,
Yes,
a lot of
definitely.
people have no idea how to do that, and of course I had to learn from scratch. That was about 8 years ago when we left the city, and it was a process. Complete process. Now I see people that when they come here, when we do our mingas, our community work days, people come and I see myself in them, in that moment. Like, I'm really interested in this, but I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah. I had next to no idea what I was doing with a lot of the stuff. There's still plenty of things I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm doing them anyway, or waiting to. But it's definitely what you said about building a fire. There's an art to it. It is a joy to see people. We get a mix too. We get people come here who are further along on their food forest and homesteading journey than we are, and others who are thinking about it or just getting started. It's a really wonderful blend, and I think we get a lot of rich interaction out of that. Like, it's not just that we're teaching something, we're also learning. And I had a similar experience when I did my little backpacking adventure and finding spots too to stay in, doing volunteer work exchange stuff with this webpage Workaway. Shout out workaway.info, great website.
Sponsor us.
But yeah, please feel free. Being willing to learn and humbly put myself out there as someone who knew nothing, and that's why I was there offering myself for free. It's definitely learned lots of things, and repetition certainly helps. Renata will probably join us on at some point here on the podcast, but she's such a huge part of what we do here. But we're all just super busy with lots of things. You and Renata have recently started another business also here in Minas, Uruguay, handling compost.
Yes, we're new business owners, so now we work 3 times more. And yes, now we collect compost from the city, and we compost them and we give them back to the people.
Hold on. How does it work?
Well, that's how it works.
What's it called and how does it work?
It's called germinas, germinas, which is like germinate, but it has Minas, which is the name of the city. So it's a project that actually started with another guy who used to live here, Fede. He had this idea and he pre-started this project on his bike, and it grew a little bit. Life happened and decisions had to be made, and he decided to go study abroad, and he left the project. And so it was kind of looking for somebody to take on, and we took the job. And now what we do is people pay us a monthly fee, and they receive a bucket, and we go to their house once a week to collect this bucket, the organics that they put in this bucket. And we
all
take
the stuff from the kitchen and whatever organic material.
Everything compostable, right? Everything that you can compost. Even like meats and citruses, because it's not with worms that we do it. We do a thermophilic that does... You can put any type of organic things, meats, bones. And so we collect that from these clients that we have, and we compost them, and then we give them back. It's a way to close the circle on this specific waste, which is the organic waste. Is a first step in the city to start closing down the open...
the junkyard or the landfill.
The landfill, yeah. The open landfill here that they still have open, where people still live there. So it's a big problem all over the world. And even that, I mean, we started a composting company. I have absolutely no biology degree or anything like that. I feel like, you have the idea and you study, and the information is all there. I mean, we have on this little phone all the information in the world of all the papers and all the videos and the books. And I feel like being able to have the courage to do something and try something, that ultimately the goal is to make something better, to plant a tree, to restore soil, to remove waste from the landfill, things that have that goal. I feel like there's no wrong way to go. If you don't know anything and you're trying to do that, I think that's enough. I feel that's a lot of people wait for that, want that piece of paper for some reason. If you don't have that degree in, I don't know, agriculture or something, you don't know enough to have an opinion about this. But I think the experience, like Randy said, as volunteers, going to other people's events, courses that are always out there from many different professionals, I think the experience has always been our priority, like to learn, to try it out and see if it works. I think that's really good.
And now, lucky you guys, there's a brand new tool, the Planting Change podcast, to teach you. I'm just kidding. It's really wonderful what you're doing. I learned so much I continue to, but really this project of ours here, Las Bandurrias, really took off when Lorena and Renata came back from Brazil in 2021. I still was finding myself stretched pretty thin, but just blown away with their motivation and the speed at which they were like implementing all these things. And in taking the time to explain things to me, and also a visit to Jardim das Acacias, the food forest I mentioned earlier in Chuy in Brazil, that was a big click for me, just being able to walk into my first food forest. Like, I'd seen videos and things like that, but it's a really different experience to walk in somewhere where someone's been working on this. At the time, it was 10 years. They've been working on it for about 12 now. Diego and his wife, Juliana, and their 2 children, Davi and Leon. And it was so inspiring, and just seeing the results that Lorena and Renata were having after just like 2 years, I was convinced that I wanted to go all in on this as well, and really stop screwing around and trying a little bit and lock it in with hooking up irrigation, and starting really to understand what and why, taking a couple more workshops and going to other volunteer work days at other places. It's been a wonderful, wonderful experience. And then I'd say like 2 or 3 years ago, we started really trying to define a name for the place and Came up with Las Bandurrias because it's the name of a bird, a native bird here, the Bandurria mora. In English, the Plumbeus ibis. In Portuguese, go ahead.
Curicaca.
Curicaca real, no?
Pode ser, sim.
But it's a really, really awesome looking bird. It's a pretty big bird. You hear the sound of the call of the Bandurria mora in the introduction and outro music of the podcast. One of the birds that we recorded here. At some point, you'll definitely hear one in the background of the podcast. I'm surprised actually they've been silent this long.
But they've always been here, right? Since the first day I got here, I saw them.
Yeah. They have a nest in the one of the big eucalyptus trees that's here. So when I got here, it was mostly grass. There's like one existing building, like a 3 meter by 7 meter rectangle made out of cement blocks, and like a hand dug well, like 7 meters deep. And there was like an old bathroom and not much else. Some trees. There's a couple big fig trees. There's a big apple tree, a couple big cypress, a couple big eucalyptus, a big ombu. I have no idea what you would call that in English, but it's a beautiful tree. Mm-hmm. Another native, and a couple others, but pretty spread out. And it's definitely taking on a different form. But the Bandurrias have always been occupying. They leave and then they come back, and I don't know. I feel like there's more now, like not just here, but I mean in neighboring fields.
And I hear them more often. I feel like last year they took a break. I don't know what it was, but they definitely have a nest, because we did see a baby Bandurria.
Oh yeah,
under the tree.
Did you get the video, or was it Renata?
Oh, I got the video. Yeah,
a little video of a baby Bandurria that Lorena put up on the Instagram. Just oh my gosh, so cute! I'd never seen a little baby before.
Yeah, but it's crazy. I think there have been times that I've seen 5 or 6 on the tree at a time. In a group.
No, and they've really become accustomed to us. The other day I was taking the horse over to another area of the field, and there was a Bandurria like up on top of the fence post, and I don't know, I found myself at like maybe 15 meters distance and just like sort of froze, like, oh, I don't want to disturb. So I started taking a video, and after I got the video, I was like, well, all right, well, I gotta pass the horse. So like I took 10, 15 more steps forward, and the bird still was just right there. So I took another video up close, and they'd never let me get that close to them before. But
before, they wouldn't even stop on the tree near the houses here.
Yeah.
I don't know, the other dogs would bark too a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe now they're a little bit confident that they're not going to get attacked or something.
I hadn't thought about that. Yeah. I thought about them getting more accustomed to us, but that's true too. I used to have a German Shepherd here that, did not like any sort of big birds coming close by here. He was a big protector, actually. If there was any hawk or other kind of raptor flying up super high, he would start barking, and the birds would like look up. They understood what the dog was barking at too. It was crazy. Yeah. The dog that's here now, the dogs that are here now, they bark more randomly. It's not necessarily. Actually, I have to give Poroto some credit. When the chickens fight, the rare occasions that the chickens fight, Poroto barks, and I know his exact bark when that's what's going on. And I come over and I open up the chicken area, and he runs inside, breaks up the fight, and comes back out. It's pretty awesome. Well, I don't know if we got anything else to talk about ourselves. It's the least interesting, with all due respect to you, Lorena. It's the least interesting thing about what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
I would much rather talk about trees in my life, not just on this podcast. But if you find me somewhere and you want to talk to me, make it about trees or plants, and the conversation might never end.
Yes.
But this podcast episode certainly can. Before we close out, fresh research just in. What's the ombu called in English, Lorena?
Elephant foot tree. Because it grows like a trunk, branches.
It's actually a really fascinating tree. It bears talking about for a second. Yeah. It's not actually wood. They call it secondary vegetative growth. I don't know. It's not like cork in texture a little bit, but it's not so dense. It does not work well for firewood or anything. But it's a really, really beautiful tree, and it's held sort of sacred in a lot of cultures around here. And there's a mountain near us called Cerro Arequita that's recently become designated as a protected national park. And at the base of the mountain, there's just a huge, wonderful area full of these ombus that you can go like walking around, and they're so beautiful. And this one's huge. This one here is really, really big. But anyway, that's the ombu. So with that said, thank you so much for tuning into the second episode of the Planting Change podcast. We'll be back next week to talk more about regenerative agriculture, a deep dive into food forestry, and what projects we're focusing on now at Las Bandurrias. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Follow our journey on the social medias at lasbandurrias.uy, like Uruguay. Bandurrias with 2 R's. That's why we do the Again, that's at lasbandurrias.uy. Follow us to be part of the new agricultural revolution, because change grows where you plant it. Take care. We'll see you next week on the Planting Change podcast.
Bye.